Well, there's no other way to put this. Since the last episode, the transfer window has become an unmitigated disaster. We have lost two of our best players, with the release clause met for a third. And while we have had a couple of replacements, there is no doubt that our squad is weaker than it was a few weeks ago. We've got our Europa League draw. We've got some easier fixtures coming up in the Danish Superliga. With a day or two to go in a transfer window, we are desperately searching for players on deadline day. My director of football is going to have to deliver. Yes, hello, and welcome along to part 27 of the Coach's Head with me, Daniel. We are back in this Director of Football challenge with no say in transfer staffing or contracts. And boy, am I ruining that at the moment, because the transfer window has not gone well, certainly in the last couple of weeks since you were last with me. We've picked up a key injury in addition to that, and although today, on paper, we should be winning against Claude Makalele's AGF, but we go into this one with a little bit of worry because the squad is not in great nick. If you want to see the players the director of football has let go, then please do put a thumbs up on the video. But it's as simple as this. We play this game, hopefully get 3 points to continue the good domestic start. We'll have a look at our Europa League draw, but you can see Braga at home is the first match. And then we go and focus on deadline day, because in 2 days' time, the director of football has got to give us some new players. Otherwise, we're in a bit of a weak spot, and we're certainly weaker than when we got here. Let's go and have a look at why I'm a little bit concerned. If we go to the transfer centre, there is one player who is currently discussing a move away after his release clause had been met, and that man is our star homegrown player, Jonas Thompson, also one of the men we based the tactic on with a holding midfielder. He has had offers from Everton for his release clause of 9.25 million and Porto for not as much up front, but more potentially in the future. And he would be a huge loss at 21. Not even just the fact that he's a great player from the academy, but also the fact that he's homegrown, the fact that he meets that for the European squad. He's a model citizen. He's got great stamina, great energy, doesn't often get injured. He's going to be someone who I think will be a bitter miss if we end up losing him. He's also a Danish international, so I guess you could argue, how long could we hold him back? The flip side of that is, yes, I could accept losing him for his release clause if you kept the other stars at the club. And that is the bit that at the moment has just not happened. Because if we go to the transfer history, yes, we'll get to a couple of good additions to the squad in a minute. But you can see the two names we've lost in the bottom right. And I think you can see why I've got concerns. Julian Fernandez is the first one, who has received an offer from Saudi Arabia. Now, let's be fair, no qualms with him on the wage front to take that deal. But 6.5 million does not seem a big amount of money for a player who was worth an awful lot more to us and had started the season well. He's now worth 30 million. I mean, they're paying him 500,000 a week. I don't begrudge the boy going, but I do begrudge the fact that we didn't milk a bit more money out of the deal, especially from one of the big clubs in Al Ahly as well. But a great opportunity for him, devastating for me. The best winger has left the club. The second one that then followed a week later, just earlier this morning in fact, was Ramon Terrats, the best midfielder and I think officially the best player at the club. He's gone to Aston Villa for £10 million with a few add-ons as well. Very good footballer. I guess again from a club point of view, he was 30. He was getting towards the end of his quality time as a player. And to be fair, look, he's going to start declining. It's a decent value and he's got a chance to play in the Premier League and earn massive money. No doubts about that. And we have got a replacement in this one, so I'm not as concerned. But still, the combination of all three, with two gone already and one potentially moving, it does leave me a little bit concerned about what's left. Because particularly with Thompson, who hasn't gone yet, there isn't really a replacement at the minute. What this does all mean, though, is that there is money to spend. And we've also had a bit of a sell-on clause for Christensen, the right back, the Danish player who got moved on somewhere else as well. We got about 4 million out of that. And I think there's now about 7 or 8 million remaining. But if we look at the ones that have come in, we did get the second right back that we were a little bit concerned about. So Joe May, I think, had just come in at the end of the last episode. If not, here he is. He's the right back from Arsenal, who we were waiting on the work permit on for ages. Under 21 international for England in years gone by and a good footballer. Might now have to play as the right winger with Gendry as the right back, because we've not really got many attacking options. We've got the older boy Achori and we've got Suarez as well. Then it's just a bunch of kids and injury prone players. So maybe May was signed as a right winger instead. I don't know. The man who's come in at right back, who is probably first choice for now, is Valentin Gendry for 4.5 million. He's 31. We questioned the long-term logic behind this. Did we just say it's another Friedel, basically? But for this season, with what's happening now, him behind May on the right-hand side, look, is probably enough to compete for a Danish Superliga, but it might not give us the squad depth for Europe. My biggest concern with him, he's not even got the greatest natural fitness either, which is definitely a problem for the long term. If we have a look at the next signing though, it probably appeases me to an extent with the Ramon Terrat's deal. I'm a bit concerned that it's almost cost the same money because he's not the same quality, but he's got a little bit more time on his side. And that man is Kevin Bruno, who's a very similar type of midfielder. He's aggressive, he's attacking, he's good on the ball, physically he's very good. He's not quite as tall and imposing, but he's got a great personality. He's got that natural left-footedness, as so many players here seem to. He likes to carry the ball through the middle, likes to try that killer pass, and he also likes to get forward. So for the way we're playing from midfield, he should be a really good option. He's not been promised first team football, no idea why, but he's going to be someone who I think we can get an awful lot of quality out of. So I'm not too worried about him joining. No, I am a little bit concerned that at 26, he's played 68 league matches in his career. What's he been doing? He had one full season at Udinese. Otherwise, he's just spent his whole career sitting on the Sassuolo bench. Very, very bizarre that. But still, we've got a good footballer in. We need more though, because as we go into this one today, the squad is a little bit short. It's a little bit lacking in quality and depth. And with one more big player to go, we're going to be without a star in holding midfield. If we have a look at the medical centre, we have got injuries as well. Lund Jensen, the centre half, out for 3 weeks. Pint, the right winger, which is now important, out for 3 weeks as well. But the dynamics are still pretty good. The squad is not too bad. But off camera, we had the reunion with Viborg, and it was a tense one. We went 1 up early on, 2 up in fact, through Schmidt and Suarez before being pegged back. But 2 penalties was enough for us. It was a bonkers first half, followed by a very quiet second one. In the end, we got the job done. If we have a look at our Europa League draw, I'm optimistic we can get through. I go back to my Build a Nation from FM23 with Distillery and say, where were you? Because with all of the European leagues loaded, Glentoran have made their way to the group stages. HJK have made their way into the group stages. And then I'm looking at home to Grasshoppers, Red Star, away to Sturm Graz. Look, if we can't get 10 points to get through, quite frankly, we don't deserve it. It's about the best Europa draw we could have hoped for. We've not got anyone from the big nations. We've got a team from Portugal, we've got Rangers from Scotland, but we've not got the Italian, the English, the Spanish, the French sides, the German sides. We've avoided them all from the big leagues. We've got to take advantage here. So let's not worry about that for now. We're going to go back to the team selection. If we have a look at the 11 we've picked, basically the new midfielder who's come in, Bruno, has got a heavy match load. He's played a lot of minutes in the last week. So we're going to leave him out for a Mayo in a game we should win. We've got another league match in 3 days, so I want to be careful. And at home to these bottom sides, the likes of Romeo, who's one of the younger members of the squad. That's where we want him to be getting his minutes, getting his experience. So here's in for this one. Joe May has pushed up to the right wing, which has meant a slight change of tactical style. Instead of an inverted forward or an inside forward, he'll be a winger. It's about all he can do up there. And then Gendry comes in, I think, for his first start at right back. Yeah, made a sub appearance last week. We've also brought in Winther at centre-half due to the Jensen injury. Gallego, the new signing, moves over to the left side. Not ideal. We can't have both playing out from the back now, but it is what it is. And hopefully Thompson will either reject to move away or we'll get a replacement before the next one, because Lubicic ain't going to do the whole season. It's not a balanced bench. We've got 2 right-backs on there. We've got 3 wingers, 1 striker, and not a lot through the middle. But this is the 11 in full. It is Juve in goal, who's had a better couple of games recently. Gendry and Zagaritis, the fullbacks, with Gallego and Winther in the middle. It's important to note the left-back is still unhappy. Thompson in the holding role, possibly for the last time, with Starman Hoyland alongside Romeo in the middle. And then Joe May pushed up on the right side of midfield with Suarez and Schmidt. 5 goals apiece already this season, joining forces up front. Let's go and see how we get on in this one. Kevin Bruno gets his squad number, and we go into a game that we should be winning with a little bit of upheaval in a squad. Well, a legendary midfielder in the dugout for our visitors today. And of course, they're missing out on a player we would have had a reunion from another save with. But otherwise, not a huge number of familiar names, not a huge number of quality players. They're a side that we're expected to be in the bottom half again. And I know we're going to have a lot of big games and European nights in the next few episodes. But deadline day was too important not to show. And that means you get this game as well. Let's see how we cope with it in the first half. I'm expecting a comfortable and dominant performance. Whether or not I get that with a new look squad, with new players and others in new positions, I'm not so sure, especially when there's such uncertainty with a couple moving on potentially. We're 25 on the clock and it's a goal kick or a free kick just outside the 6-yard box for our visitors, which we win it back from. And Winther can play into midfield for Hoyland, who I've got to say, probably been the most impressive performer so far. As he breaks through midfield again here, gets into the box. He's such a threat and he hits the post. It's off the line on the second attempt. But wonderful from Hoyland. Does so well. And I think during the midst of that attack, my chair almost collapsed. And that was before I got excited about the chance. As Gallego gets the ball in the centre half position. You can see we're pushed up, we're camped in their half, but does mean we're having to get used to not having space to play in behind. The one thing we did have in those first few games was teams that were coming at us that thought they could win in Bromby and Midtjylland in Ajax. We've not got that here. We've got a team sitting deep, but May breaks down the right and maybe having a traditional winger will help because Suarez puts the shot in. It's tight for offside, but I know he's an experienced player. He knows where the back of the net is. And drifting in from that left, it's been our biggest goal threat so far this season. No matter who's played there, they've scored goals. And Suarez has joined the club. 1-0, an important moment. We've not always kept clean sheets here, and they're straight up the other end. Back post cross headed away by Gallego. Suarez beaten to it. Oh, big deflection. What is it since we've come to Copenhagen? Every goal or every chance seems to have a deflection on it. Schmidt gives the ball around halfway, and we look very vulnerable after scoring here. 10 to the break, we stay 1-0 up, and we seem to have weathered that storm. It does seem to be the case from the kickoff that we're a little bit susceptible. Zagaritis puts a good cross in there, and May's header is straight at the keeper. I would expect even more so now with the tactical change. We're going to see the right side come the creative one. Gendry and May putting crosses in, and then Suarez joining up almost as a front two in the box. Maybe a front three if Hoyland can get there as well. So it'll be interesting to see how the tactical dynamic of that change works, whether it goes as intended. As Hoyland gets the ball forward to Schmidt, in he goes. Oh, great finish. Really like him. I said from the start he's my type of striker. They're checking for offside with VAR, but it didn't suggest it was off. And it's not off. Goal awarded. I think we're going to get the win we need. Now we can start to focus on deadline day and the hope of some signings to help us, especially with the money remaining as Winther makes it 3. Wonderful stuff. Lovely, comfortable victory here. And now we can look at deadline day. Director of football, do not sell any more of this team and get me a few to add in here. A very good first half performance and a 3-0 lead. Should be game over at the break. What a 45 minutes that was. You've blown them away, boys. Go and do it again in a second. Well, just 5 minutes gone in the second half, and it is AGF on the front foot here with a ball into the back post. And Zagaritis, he's not covered himself in glory there. I know we've not got the height in a team necessarily. We've not got that aerial threat, but you know how to defend your back post. You know how to lean in, how to make it difficult, and that just didn't happen. Though Joe May goes for a shot from distance. Another one of those free kick routines. I will say they're working quite well. The corners have been disastrous, but the free kicks, they have worked well, finding alternatives to not having big aerial threats. And especially today with Jensen out as well, with Terrats moving on, we've lost nearly all the height here. 3-1, a bit disappointed we've conceded. We've got a free kick and a chance to make it 4. Can Thompson sign off with a spectacular goal? Almost. It's tipped over the bar. I'm going to make the changes. We're going to go, I think, Suarez off. Although who's got the natural fitness there? Could go either way. Might do both. We'll go Tunheim and we'll go Ashuri out wide. Hoyland is going to come off in midfield and we are just going to give Bruno a run out. Let him get his debut for a few minutes. We're also going to go for Zagaritis off at left back with Lubicic again just getting some minutes in the tank. Do I take Romeo off maybe in a central midfield role because he's going to have to play holding mid in midweek as it stands. Bring Tambakti on for him. And then find a way to make it work. We can go Thompson into midfield, Gallego into the holding role. And I think just make it work that way. No idea what Thompson's best role is. He's rubbish on the ball. We'll just put him as a ball winner on support there and leave Gallego in that role. We'll confirm the changes with 20 to go. And look, the players we're bringing on are good enough. We shouldn't be falling apart here. As Bruno does win the ball. Lovely to see him in action for the first time. Drifts into that left-footed position again. We know what he's like. Goes from distance over. That's a positive sign from the future. Someone who can carry the ball forward from midfield. And he does so there as well. Not sure he looked for the killer pass, but we'll forgive him. Maybe saw his name in lights. There's Tunheim on the right. Has an overlap, but gives the ball away. That's really poor. And Jensen goes wide to Lopez. I'd be disappointed if we conceded 2 in this game. Lopez puts the ball into the back post, and we might do, you know. It's off the post, but we look so vulnerable to those crosses. And again, Gendre, he's not the best in the air. He's not the tallest. It is going to be a susceptibility for this team as Lubicic puts a cross in and Schmidt hits the post as well. 10 to go. I'd fancy us to outscore the opposition a lot of weeks, but feel like it's going to have to be outscore teams rather than keep clean sheets. As it is, though, it's a comfortable 3-1 win. It's a nice sign-off for Thompson, if indeed it ends up being that. But let's get through to deadline day, which today should be the star of the show. We'll see how we get on. Director of football, you've got to give me some replacements. Well, we've not even got through the end of the match day yet, and it's already getting worse because not only has Jakob Falster been loaned out to Bodo Glint, he's been loaned out without any wage contribution. It's going to be a great move for him this season. And I guess the director of football is looking at it and thinking, well, I've signed 3 right-backs who are better than him, but I'm going to have to play one of them in midfield now because you've not given me any wingers. So unless you replace those as well, this is going to be a very difficult challenge. I'm going to make sure the squad plan is right for deadline day, but at the moment, concerned is the right words. Well, we're awake the following morning and it is deadline day, and you can see the deadline day rumours, which are often wrong, I must add at this point, are dominated by FC Copenhagen potential signings. And 2 of them are wingers, which is our weak spot at the minute. So happy with that. We've seen the bottom one already. Reda Aguay, who we looked at in the last episode, a bid was made and rejected. If we look at the others, Elias Sad, he looks like a player at 31 that would be good for 1 season for me, but he's not a solution for the club. And Ritsu Dwan, it says experienced winger again. Why is he going for the old boys? He's 33. Doesn't make sense, and he's on massive money as well. So hopefully those deals are a mile off, and we'll see other players instead, but I don't hold up much hope at the minute. Zagaritis being linked with a move away as well. This could be a day that frustrates me. There are 16 hours remaining on transfer deadline day, and by the end of the day, we need wingers, we need squad additions, and we probably need a new holding midfielder if Thompson does move on. Well, we've got our first offer made symbol of the day, and it looks like loan intentions for Umut. So let's see what we've got here. 27-year-old midfielder from Bournemouth. Well, this is interesting because in the alternate universe, we were managing Bournemouth at this stage, weren't we? However, this is not a player that was at the club then. He is a former Hoffenheim player and a central midfielder, but can he play the holding role? That's the big question. Yes, he can. 325 grand loan fee, overall fee of 17, potential replacement for Højlund. Oh, don't sell him as well. Don't sell him as well. Umut Tahumchu is a 3.5-star ability, natural holding and central midfielder. Bit more of the playmaker type than we're perhaps used to with Thompson, so might again be a slight adjustment of the roles. But a very good player. Leaves us with someone who can do the duty. Tunheim's own offer has been rejected. Suarez is second in player of the month despite scoring 6. Ingvartsen must have had one hell of a blinder. Any players in team of the month, Suarez and Højlund. And Bruno, he got a player of the month award in Serie B. Udinese got relegated. That probably explains why he's there with us. So let's go and get through the rest of the day. And hopefully our first edition is not far away. 1 hour later, Zagaritis has requested a transfer. Do you know what? I wouldn't mind him going because he's on big money. He's not worth a lot of money and he's 30 now. But there's no one else who can play there. If I accept that and he goes, we need someone else to be able to come in. And I don't know if I trust the director of football, but I'm going to do the right thing and accept it. How do I feel about it? It's dragging on. We know that unhappiness is the worst thing in Football Manager. Poor morale, poor dynamics. So I'm going to accept that. A shame you can't delegate it to the director of football. We'll see what he does with it now. Hopefully, sign another left back. Well, after the board reminded us how unhappy they are that we failed to reach the Champions League group stages despite facing Ajax, and after a loan offer was rejected for new signing Brian Sears, who will now be the backup right back again, we have lost the superstar. Jonas Thompson has gone to Everton for his release clause, which means no sell-on fee or anything either. A Danish international brought through the academy, a model citizen out of the club. That is a huge loss. It's great for him, but I just don't feel we've got value again. We've lost two of our starting midfield three in the last 2 weeks, and unless that lone player agrees to join us, we've still not got a replacement officially. Well, we can now breathe a slight sigh of relief because Cordano has said he wants to go out on loan, which is not ideal, but we'll just say, yes, you can later in the season. I've no problem with that. I mean, look, to be honest, we've got other goalkeepers. We'll be all right. The problem is we've only got a loan addition to replace Thompson. Now, at the end of the season, we'll be back in the same position. But for now, we've got a player who's just as good in Umut Tahumchu. He is 3.5-star ability. He's a quality operator. Doesn't give us the same homegrown luxury in Europe or domestically, but he gives us the same quality. And for now, that's all I need to worry about. We can already tell this is going to be a quite short-term stint. I want to make sure we can win a title. And players like that will at least enable us to do so. Well, 2 hours later, and we've got more action, but this time on the outgoings, including a rejected offer for Zagaritis on loan, but an accepted one for Cordano to go to Gil Vicente on loan. He is there, 90% wages covered, that's all right. Never understanding these saves, and I haven't understood it all year, why goalkeepers sign backup or emergency backup contracts and then get unhappy about a lack of football. It just doesn't make sense, but Cuadrano has gone, we're now down to one senior keeper. There's another problem that's got to be addressed today. Well, I can see an offer made and an offer received. I'm desperately hoping that Romeo one's rejected, but I've got a bad feeling. Let's look at the offer made for Neroth Lundgren, who is a goalkeeper from AGF, 2.5-star ability, 500,000. That looks a good one. Let's see what he's like. Yeah, he's solid enough. Great in the air as well. Happy with that one. That's a sensible addition. Please say you've rejected this. He has rejected it for Romeo, and that's 3.7 million. So hopefully we'll get a little bit more than that. If he's going to accept it, I want it to be big money. Cuadrano's now dropped his lack of football concern, the bizarre goalkeeping one. But if we get that new backup as a result of it, I think we've done all right out the deal. I see another offer for Romeo, and I see more offers for other players. Zagaritis has had offers accepted, not for a lot of money, but all with optional or mandatory future fees. Hopefully he'll take the permanent deal from Fulham. But the big question for us is, will you now get us another left back? Loan offers made for Sears. He's going out as well. Oxford and Swansea offering first team football. So we're down to one right back if Joe May can't then cover there because he's playing midfield. And Romeo's next bid rejected for 5 million. I wonder if it's going to keep going up. This is becoming a very tense day. And at the moment, I've got one goalkeeper, one holding midfielder, and I might have no left backs in a minute. Not looking balanced, is it? Well, another departure. This time, our first choice left back, Zagaritis. No wage contribution. I have no idea why he's agreed to that deal. It just seems if a player's transfer listed by request, anything that includes a future fee for the right price or for the market valuation gets accepted without any consideration of the wages this year. And that is a huge blow for the club to pay him and then a replacement left back as well. What I'm more worried about is not getting one. So I'm going to say, yes, I do expect a late flurry of activity. I'm certainly hoping for one because at the minute, you look at the left back on the squad planner, it could not be more clear. We've got one player who's out of contract at the end of December and he's 32 and he's not even a left back by trade. This could be a very important 5 hours. Well, more news and offers for players to go out as Sears has moved on loan to Swansea. Again, no wage contribution, but he will benefit. Sunderland are the latest bidders to the table for Romeo. That has been rejected. That's a pathetic offer. Utrecht him for Tunheim, rejected as well. So we're clinging on to a few players for now. There's still no sign of a left back. I'm concerned. Well, another departure with 2 hours remaining is becoming a big concern. Leicester have come in for Romeo, which is rejected. But Utrecht made another bid for Tunheim of 1.7 million. And another winger leaves the club without replacement. We saw all those links at the start of the day. We've seen in the squad planner. We've now not got a left side that's suitable, and the right side is looking thin on the ground. This squad's been decimated, and that's absolutely fine. But where on earth are the replacements? With 2 hours to go, I am becoming angry now, rather than concerned. The words are changing, the terminology's getting worse, and the squad is significantly declining. Well, big news, with 2 hours to go, the first gap has been plugged. We've got a goalkeeper, and it is the man we made a bid for a few hours ago. The director of football has brought in Neroff Lundgren, who is a 2.5-star backup goalkeeper. Oh, it's a Bayern Munich-sized squad now, isn't it? But he is a good footballer, and hopefully that deal finally getting done and concluded will unlock the door to more signings. It certainly needs to, because we've got gaps here. Let's see if they get filled. There are 30 minutes to go. There are 6 messages, and I am desperate for one of them to at least be the signing of a left back. If it's an offer now, it's probably too late. Please let it get done. Right, we've got a player. Who is it? It's a winger. It's not even a left back. Who on earth is going to play left fullback for this team? Offer made for Gonzalo, 27-year-old winger. Looks very good, to be fair, from Gil Vicente. It's 12.5 million. Blimey, that's a big investment, isn't it? Let's have a look at him. He comes into the club on a modest enough wage. 3.5-star ability. Will be the best at the club, no doubt about that. Hopefully he's got a good attribute balance, but we haven't got a left back. It doesn't matter how much quality you put elsewhere. Hoyland is going to welcome him yet again. Please be a good player. Ah, he's magic. He's a very good footballer, and he actually prefers to play off the right. His best roles are Ramdeuter, something we've not had before. But he is a player who will definitely add quality to the squad. If we look at the squad planner, though, there's 30 minutes to go, and the director of football has left me with that. Well, there it is. The deadline has passed. The transfer window has concluded. And while we've added 2 very good players on deadline day at a good age who will improve the squad, we have been left with a massive, massive hole in an important area. The Europa League squad, I mean, it's not even big enough to be a concern here. I'm actually going to have to go and have a look at whether we've got left backs who need to be registered in a youth team, because it's a bit of a disaster out there at the minute. I don't even think any of the backups can play there, and that is even more of a worry. Let me go and have a quick look through that. We'll be back in a minute. Well, all I could do was register one of the young centre-halves signed earlier in the summer who can cover at left-back in Gunau. I mean, it's not good enough, but it might have to do. He's officially our backup left-back now, and Lubicic is going to be the starter there. Overall, it's a bit frustrating because if we'd have just got a decent left-back on loan or even kept Zagaritis, I would have called that a pretty good window. The thing is, though, at this level, you can't go into half a season with no senior player in a position. And that is exactly what this director of football has done. The transfer deadline day work. As a reminder, we saw 5 first-teamers go out today, 6, 7, 8 in the last week. And in replacement, we've brought in 5. But the only player who can play left-back at this football club from the senior level is Robert Lubicic, who is naturally a centre midfielder. He's not a great player anyway, and he's out of contract in 3.5 months. We've also got to think about the fact that Suarez is out of contract at the end of the year, as is Pint, the young winger. This could yet be a problem. However, we have got a few good players in, and as long as we don't get injuries to Lubicic or Gunau, that youngster, we should be okay for now. Let's go and have a look at the schedule and see when we're next going to be back after the director of football has chosen to make it tricky for us. I think we're going to do the second Europa League game. So Trabzonspor at home, which is followed by Nordsjælland, one of the stronger sides always in the top half. So we're going to go for that double header next, and then we'll come back again for Midtjylland and Brøndby after that a month or so later. If you're looking forward to those and you did enjoy this one, a director of football deadline day that is again a bit of a head scratcher, then please do put a thumbs up on the video. If you want to stay up to date and find out what we do, subscribe and turn that notification bell on. Thank you very much for watching, for joining me for another crazy deadline day and another director of football that has baffled me in many areas.